Hey YouTube, got something in this bag. It's kind of cool. Let's check it out. Alright, let's check this out. So, got this really cool bag, and one of my favorite toys is in it. Show you what's in it. It's pretty cool. It's not new. It's a drone. This is a DJI Phantom 3 standard, and it'll fly, and it's got a decent little camera. It does like 2.7 K video and some decent pictures, but I mainly use it for video. It's pretty awesome. It fights the wind really well. It does D-log video, so I can color correct it really well in post when I get the video back in the computer at home. It's got 3-axis gimbal. If you've never seen one of these, keeps that camera really steady as it's flying. So this plastic piece does not belong on the camera. There we go. I can show you. There we go. So right now it's all kind of limp and stuff because it's not on. But yeah, so 3-axis gimbal keeps when the drone's flying around going crazy, it keeps it nice and steady. And it's a great little device. It's got the same legs as the Beast, but other than that, it's completely different. I'll show you the controller. And so here it is. Very, very simple. Looks like your standard RC type controller. It's got a stick on the left, stick on the right. Difference is it stays in the center on that side, and it also stays in the center on this side. And it also has a little thing like this, and that hangs onto my phone. So I put my phone in like that, and it shows me what the drone sees as I'm flying, so I can set up the shot and do whatever I want to do. So that's pretty slick. The way this works generally is that inside that drone it has a GPS. It's got a bunch of sensors and all sorts of stuff, and so when it takes off, and I can just tell it to take off through the phone app, I can touch the screen and do stuff and tell it to take off, and it goes up in the air and it sits there and it waits for input. Very safe, very stable, very you know exactly what it's doing. Push this up, it goes up. You push this down, it goes down. You push this right or left, it goes right or left. Yeah, the other stick, you push left or right, it rotates. You push forward and backwards, and it moves forwards and backwards. That's it. If you let go, it stops moving and it hovers. It just sits there. Great system. Very, very safe. It's hard not to be in control all the time of this thing. It's got a decent range, but not ridiculous. But the problem is, of course, not everything's all that simple. And why is it not that simple? Well, because of one main reason. I live in Canada, and in Canada, back in the summer in June, they came out with some new laws that came into effect, and makes it very difficult to fly these guys. So it turns out you can't just go out and buy one of these anymore and just fly it. You can't. Anything over 250 grams, I believe it is. Not only can I not just go out and fly this guy, but if I do, I have to be licensed, and the drone has to be registered, and it has to have the registration number on the drone itself. So if it ever goes and flies off and crashes into something, they can pick it up and go, oh, look at that, this is this belongs to so-and-so, and they can come and find me or whatever they want to do. If you fly these without a license, then it's big money. It's like, I think it's like $2,000 or something, or $5,000. I don't know. It's a lot of money. I'd have to look it up. Maybe I'll do that and walk you guys through some of the rules. But it's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So there's two types of licenses for these. There's like a regular one and a super one. Regular and advanced, I think it is. Standard and advanced. I'm not sure. Anyway, in order to get the standard license, you got to learn a bunch of stuff. And then you got to go online, take a test. No big deal, right? But the knowledge that it takes to take the test for these guys is very similar to what you would need to fly a regular plane. So they have questions about frequency, radio frequencies, cloud types. Even though you're not allowed to fly this above 400 feet and you're not allowed to fly it into a cloud, you still got to know the cloud types. You still got to know human factors. You got to know, just weather in general. You got to know airspaces. You got to know all sorts of stuff. If you have a standard license, you can't fly in any kind of airspace at all, other than just outside of your airport areas and stuff like that. Like I live close to an airport. I got to drive 5 miles away from the airport before I'm allowed to fly this thing. Anywhere near a hospital that has a heli landing pad, same thing. Can't fly there. DJI, the guys that make this drone, they do a really good job of stopping you from doing that, because they'll have a little. They know where this guy is. He's got a GPS in it. He knows where it is, and they have like a no-fly zones, and it won't even leave the ground. But Canada's come up with even more strict rules. So basically, I got to drive somewhere that's not a lot of fun to fly at. To fly, I can't go to a beach around here because most of them are government run and owned, and they don't allow drones in national parks. So there's that. Even over the Confederation Bridge that's near me here in Prince Edward Island, can't fly there. I can, but I have to be like super high above it, and it's kind of pointless. And because you can't be super high. There's lots of rules. Kind of a pain in the butt. I did take the test personally, and I think I got like 96 or 98% on it, and so I have my license, and that's why I actually do have this guy registered, and I can fly it. So there's still a lot of rules. If you want to fly in airspace, classified airspace, not like any kind of restricted air or not restricted, but any kind of air traffic control zones or anything like that, you can, but you have to have the advanced version of the license, and to do that you have to take a test, a written one online, and you also have to take a flight test with like somebody watching you fly and stuff, and making sure that you're following all the rules and everything. So there's that. And then, of course, even then, there's a lot of restrictions, and you have to get permission from the aerodrome, or wherever you're intending to fly, and that kind of thing. There's all sorts of rules around that too. So it's pretty crazy just to fly one of these. Now DJI did come out with one this summer called the Mavic Mini. Actually, I think it was the fall. And it's 249 grams, so that's strategically right under that limit, and there's a lot of countries around the world that have that weight limit, because I guess they figure that 249 grams or smaller is, they could run that into something and it's not going to damage anything, it's not going to hurt anybody. They used to have rules. I know there were some places where you couldn't fly these things above a certain height, above a building, and it's not very high. Because the thought is that if it's high enough above the building and it loses power and it drops and it hits the building, if it was high enough, it would be going significantly fast enough, and it would go through the roof, and it could have damaged the building. So, just everything's been thought of. They've thought of every possible combination of what could happen. So I do enjoy flying this guy. I like, it's a lot of fun. The footage I get from it's a hoot. I'll try and add some to the video if I can remember here. But this guy's great. I can even fly him in the winter, which is great, and that's another reason I haven't done any videos lately. It's the same complaint I had last video. The weather's been absolutely crap, and of course I had a couple of weeks during Christmas, and the guy that I like to fly with, he was I don't want to bug him during Christmas, so what are you gonna do? Not much flying, not many videos. I've been just kind of sitting around waiting for the weather to get better and for Christmas to be done and stuff like that. So back at it. It's time. In terms of my pilot license, I'm studying for the radio operator permit. So I'll be taking that test shortly, and then I'll be getting ready to take the ultralight pilot test, which I'm hoping to do maybe in February if I'm lucky. More than likely it might be March. We'll see. Because I'm also working on the medical stuff that's required for a pilot's license. I should probably do a video on what is required for that. Yeah. So I'm gonna skip over to another part of this video, and I'm gonna go online, and we're gonna talk about what you need to do and how hard it is to get the license for this guy. I'm just going to show you some of the government websites and whatnot, and we'll talk about that. And there you go. And then maybe I'll throw some, if I can remember, I'll throw some footage from this guy on there so you can see. And then maybe the next video, maybe we'll take it outside and we'll fly it some, and we'll see what we can do. Get some really cool drone footage of a tree somewhere, because I live on a small island in the Atlantic Ocean, but I'm pretty much barred from any beaches because of our awesome rules around here. So there you go. All right, let's check this out. All right, so I thought the best way to explain all this stuff is to just show you the web pages and read it myself. So yeah, Drones Canada. You can see this. It's all drones weigh between 250 grams and 25 kilograms. Must be registered with Transport Canada. Pilots must mark their drones with registration number, and there you go. It just repeated itself. Weird. So they published this stuff on January 9th, but it actually came into effect, I believe, in June 1st, I think it was. So again, between 25 grams and 25 kilograms. Your remotely piloted aircraft system, or RPAS, that's their catch-all phrase. It means anything that flies and you have a remote control, except for anything flown at there's a like a remote control airplane. A remote control airplane, even though it is a RPAS, it falls under, I believe it's MAC, the Model Aeronautics Association of Canada. But they have their own fields. You can't just fly them anywhere. That kind of thing. They kind of self-police, so they make their own rules, and I guess Transport Canada is okay with that. But the rest of us with drones that are harmless, we have new rules. So here they are. Penalties, yeah, putting aircraft people at risk, flying without a drone license, and flying unmarked or unregistered drones that fall under this category. So yeah, it's basic operations for the pilot certificate or advanced. There you go. Pretty straightforward stuff. Yeah, so I found this page and I threw it up here just for fun, just to show you guys. If you do have an advanced license and you want to fly in Canadian airspace, then although they don't specify what kind of Canadian airspace, if it's Class G, I believe it is, then you don't have to. You just go fly. You don't have to tell anybody. Any other C, yeah, here we go. Classes C, D, or E, you have to fly. You have to let them know. You have to fill out a form and do all this stuff and let them know what's going on. And you have to notify the operator of the aerodrome, and there's a whole pile of rules around that, so I'm not even going to go into them all. Crazy stuff. All right, anyway, here's the fun. Here's the other stuff. So the legal requirements, you got to have the license. You got to, here's that. They like to tell you how heavy things have to be. Crazy. There's lots of other laws. So not just the federal laws. There's also provincial laws. There's laws. There's municipal laws. There's all sorts of stuff. There's trespass laws. There's so many laws, other laws that you have to respect when you're flying your drone. So there's a weird one where you can't fly to around any event that's advertised. So somebody advertises, I don't know, a parade. You can't put your drone up near the parade and record it. It's weird. I don't know why. Even if you're not over people or near people, you still can't. So whatever. Voyeurism and privacy. Yeah, well, obviously you don't want to have people looking in your bedroom with their drones. So there you go. I'm assuming that's what they mean by voyeurism. Fly your drones safely. Understand your legal requirements. Understand the difference between basic and advanced operations. Get the necessary knowledge requirements. I'll show you those in a minute. Actually, I'll open that. Get your certificate. Choose the right drone, register your drone, follow the manufacturer's instructions. You have to have a log for your drone and to keep track of flights and any kind of maintenance you do on it and stuff like that. So just like an airplane. You have to survey the area you'll fly, take note of obstacles such as buildings and power lines, understand if there's going to be if there's any air traffic in the area, that kind of thing. Although there shouldn't really be at the altitude you're allowed to fly at, since you're not supposed to fly close to anything that's, near any airports or anything like that. So kind of a drag. Yeah, I mean, you gotta keep it in sight at all times. So there goes the 4 kilometer range on your little mini Mavic Mini thing. I think it's 4 miles. You can't see it after 1 mile, let alone 4. So half a mile, you could probably have a hard time seeing them. So insane, depending on the conditions, of course, but especially during the day. Yeah, you're not allowed going above. You have to stay below 400 feet away from bystanders. Horizontal 100 meters. They call that 100 feet. Away from emergency operations and advertised events. That's what I was telling you about. Do not go towards forest fires. Forest fires, because mainly you could get in the way of the aircraft that are helping put out the fires. Outdoor concerts and parades, obviously, since they are, for the most part, advertised events. Stay away from airports. 5.6 kilometers, 3 nautical miles. It's like 4 miles, 4 regular miles, I think. Or a nautical mile from a heliport. Outside controlled airspace. Stay in outside. Do not go into any controlled airspace. You have to stay far away from other aircraft. Sorry. Penalties. Here we go. This is what I was trying to explain in the video. There we go. So, yeah, $1,000 if you're flying without a certificate. $1,000 if it's unregistered. $1,000. You could, and I'm guessing this is like all cumulative too. So you could have like 1,000 there, 1,000 there, 1,000 there, 3,000 there if you're putting people at risk, or other aircraft. Corporations, $5,000 for all the same stuff, up to $15,000 for putting people at risk. That's insane. That's a lot of money. So that's like $6,000 right there for individuals. That's nuts. Visual line of sight, bystanders. Anyway, there you go. Knowledge requirements. Here's what I was talking about. So some of this stuff is nuts. You got to be pretty much a pilot and have the same knowledge almost. You have to know air law, air traffic rules, procedures, RPS airframes. You got to know power plants, propulsion systems, and systems. All the things that make up your drone. You got to know about all that. Human factors. That's like, don't drink, 12 hours prior to operating an aircraft. Don't anything that would stop you from getting a regular pilot's license. You're not allowed to fly under, so if you're under the weather, or if you're sick, or if you got something wrong
with you. If you're tired, you just feel tired, don't fly. Meteorology, so weather, right? Clouds, fronts, all that stuff. Navigation, so apparently you need to know how to, I don't know, navigate. So using GPS, using maps, using landmarks and whatnot, even though the drone's supposed to stay within within a line of sight, you still got to know how to navigate. Meteorology, like the weather, yeah, okay, I'm not allowed to fly in clouds, but I got to know that that really tall puffy cloud is cumulonimbus or whatever, stratocumulo something or other, whatever. You got to know all that stuff, which is crazy. Flight operations, theory of flight's good to know anyway, so that you understand how the things work and how propellers work and lift and drag and all that kind of stuff. Radio telephony. So that's your you got to have a radio sometimes, especially if you're in an advanced drone and you're flying in a controlled airspace. You got to be able to listen to the radio frequencies, and you got to know what frequency to listen to for other aircraft, and be aware of the situation, and be able to, you got to be able to know how to contact maybe the local airport if you have a flyaway and it's heading that direction or whatever, anything, any reason to hear or to make radio calls. You got to be able to do it, even though nobody that's flying a drone for the most part, especially a basic one, is going to have a radio. They're not going to be allowed to talk on the radio, so they'd be, if they had a flyaway, they'd be calling with their cell phone. They wouldn't be making a radio call, so that's a little weird. They have to know all that stuff, but whatever. Lots of rules, and there's a lot of stuff that you got to know. Yeah. All this stuff. Yeah, so the basic drone pilot's license is 35 questions, about an hour and a half. I think it took me about 45 minutes, and I got a 90 something. And I didn't do a whole lot of studying, so that's not too bad. Even though I am doing a lot of studying for my pilot's license now, so that probably helped me out quite a bit. That's why I didn't have to do much studying. Otherwise, I would say, for the average person, for just getting into this stuff, yeah, you gotta study your butt off for this stuff. Just to even get 65, you'd have to know quite a bit. Advanced operations, it's an hour, and you got 50 questions, and you need an 80 to pass. So that's a little more stringent. And the flight reviewers, those are the guys that come out and give you your flight test when you do this one, and you want the advanced flight permit. There you go. So yeah, this thing goes on and on and on. These are all the different sections of all the different information. And this isn't even the information you need to know. This is just sections on the information that you need to know. This is just like letting you know the information is out there that you need to know, this stuff. This isn't telling you what it is. It's just telling you, like, here's the category. You need to learn about that category. So yeah, look at this. There's a lot. There's a whole lot. And if you want to learn more, Google around. There's a lot of really good YouTube sites out there that have every little piece of information that you need. There's a lot of courses online that you can take that are pretty cheap, like maybe $100, $200, that can teach you what you need to know. But there's a lot of information. All right, getting the right drones. So yeah, basic operations, advanced operations. They have different types of requirements for drones. If you're going for an advanced one, then there's no point in getting an advanced drone license if you don't have an advanced drone. And so here's the list. So mine's a DJI Phantom 3, and I thought it was in here. There's a Phantom 4. Mine's a Phantom 3 standard. Oh, maybe he didn't make the list. So he would not fall under the advanced category. I thought he did. Huh. There you go. So, the Mavics and stuff like that, these guys. Mavic Pros, all the Mavic Airs, all that kind of stuff are in here. Those are like your, $1,000 drones, $2,000 drones in Canada anyway. So those are the good ones. Phantom 4. They have a Phantom 4. They just came out with a new one. It's a professional V2, I think. Sweet little drone. Oh, there it is right there. So they already have it on the list. So at least they're keeping the list up to date. So that's good. Anyway, so there's your list. There's a big list of drones that qualify for advanced status. And then once you're done, of course, you have your license. You have to register your drone and pay some money, of course, and also mark your drone with your registration number so that if you lose it, they can return it to you, or they can give you crap because you slammed into some building that you weren't supposed to be near. Whatever, it is what it is. They can. It's probably a good thing, really. I mean, you know, if somebody's flying their drone and being a jerk about it, it's probably a pretty good idea to not. I don't know. You know, just not have that be okay. You know, if they're flying near an airport and crashing into people or endangering people, then you kind of want those guys caught anyway, because they're the ones that are giving all the drone flyers a bad name. For every 9 people that do it right, there's one guy out there being a jerk. So I guess that's why we all have to do this stuff anyway. So there it is. I'm going to end this video, and while I'm ending the video, I'll show you some drone footage that I got with my Phantom, and I will make a note that one of the scenes that I'll show you is on a beach with a lighthouse, and that was I want to point out that it was before these. I recorded that before this came into effect on June 1st. This was probably a year before that, so. But there is some other video footage that I got after this, and it was near a beach, but not really. But there is water and nice sunset, so there you go. So we will take it off into the sunset. Goodbye, and we'll see you next time.